The story begins by a serene riverside, where a young boy named Alec sits quietly, fishing in the gentle sunlight. His peaceful day is interrupted by a figure approaching him, Eldis, a magician of remarkable skill who greets him with a simple question. "Hey kid, are you interested in learning magic?" Alec is surprised, his curiosity piqued. Eldis, with a calm and deliberate tone, begins to teach him the fundamentals of magic. Concentrate. That's right, picture it in your head. Someday you'll have companions too, Eldis explains, his words carrying both guidance and foresight. He describes the future vividly. Alec will have companions, and one day those companions will face danger. To save them, Alec must master the power of magic. Eldis compares casting a spell to holding one's breath, steady, controlled, and deliberate. He instructs Alec to take a deep breath, focus, and release it. Following these instructions carefully, Alec finally manages to cast his first spell. "Yes, I did it, Eldis! I finally did it!" he shouts, exhilarated by his success. Eldis praises his efforts, noting the difficulty of the task. "Today's magic was a bit difficult. It took a whole day to succeed. You know, it takes a normal person about a month to master it." Alec's excitement is uncontainable, and he eagerly asks what magic he should learn next. Eldis smiles and tells him to be patient. "That's all for today. Let's continue tomorrow. Haste makes waste. Let's just relax and fish until the sun goes down." Although Alec is eager to continue learning, he follows Eldis's advice. As they fish together, a fish tugs at Eldis's line, and Alec, seeing the magician struggle, can't help but laugh. Eldis, laughing along, allows Alec to help him reel it in. Their laughter fills the riverside, a moment of simple joy and bonding between student and teacher. Eldis, seeing Alec's talent, assures him, "You have a natural talent for being a magician. Even without my guidance, I'm sure you'll become a top-notch magician. Leave it to fate, like the flowing water of this river." Alec, curious and sincere, asks, "Then why did you teach me magic?" Eldis hesitates, leaving the answer unspoken, though the bond between them speaks louder than words. Days pass, and Eldis gives Alec a book containing magical formulas. At first, Alec struggles to understand them, but Eldis patiently teaches him to recognize patterns, turning complex formulas into comprehensible lessons. Each day, Alec grows more confident in his abilities. Yet the seasons change, and Eldis must leave for the capital that summer. Alec's heart sinks at the thought of losing his mentor. Eldis warns him, "Even if you have the chance to become a court magician, I advise you not to do it." Alec, confused, presses him further, asking why he taught him magic at all. Eldis reveals a deeply personal truth. He is repaying a kindness once shown by Alec's late mother. The revelation leaves Alec reflective as Eldis departs, and the boy is left to continue his growth alone. Years later, Alec enters the Royal Magic Academy, excelling in his studies and earning a reputation as a prodigy. However, he learns that Eldis, who once graduated as the top student and became a court magician, was later banished from the imperial court. Alec's admiration turns to anger, and he resolves to repay Eldis's kindness by entering the imperial court himself. He vows, "I will become a court magician," and dedicates himself to honing his skills. Alec eventually joins Crown Prince Regulus's team as a court magician. Yet despite his talent, his role is constantly belittled. Regulus openly fires him. "Court magician Alec Egret, you're fired," the prince declares without hesitation. Alec is stunned and demands to know why. Regulus critiques Alec's role, explaining that while the prince fights on the front lines, Lenny unleashes offensive fire magic, and Ix acts as a living shield. Alec, in contrast, only uses support magic like defense and enhancement. His attempts to explain himself are dismissed, and Regulus and Lenny accuse him of cowardice and passivity. Alec's heart aches as the prince notices a dagger on his belt, confiscates it, and scolds him for carrying weapons as a commoner. In a humiliating moment, Regulus yanks off his robe, declaring that he is no longer a court magician and is merely a commoner. Alec is forced to watch helplessly as the team ventures deeper into the dungeon without him. Despite his dismissal, Alec remains resolute. He studies the dungeon independently, aware that the prince is underpowered and could face danger. He resolves to protect his comrades from afar, but his efforts are blocked by royal guards, who remind him that commoners cannot enter the capital. He attempts to pass a scroll to Lenny for the prince's attention, but she destroys it and refuses him entry. Humiliated yet undeterred, Alec reflects on the failure of his 4-year effort to influence the imperial court. As he contemplates his next move, he is greeted by his former team leader, Yorha. Their reunion is emotional. Alec recounts the injustice he faced, and Yorha expresses her anger at the oppressive traditions of the Galdana kingdom. Yet she reassures him. She had always planned to recruit him back into her party. She invites Alec to join him once again, recognizing his true power and dismissing the opinions of the royal court. Alec, moved, agrees to return. Together, they rejoin their A-grade party, lasting period, ready to set out on new adventures. During their journey, Alec recalls Eldis's warning about the court. In the capital, Prince Regulus hears of Alec's departure and mocks him as a coward, praising the new noble-born recruit instead. Meanwhile, Alec and Yorha return to their hometown, Fizel, eager to explore dungeons west of the city. At the Adventurer Guild, they learn of a restriction preventing entry beyond level 30 without a guild pass. Though frustrated, they begin their expedition in shallower areas to warm up. Inside the dungeon, they encounter a swarm of red bugs behaving unusually. Alec notices their numbers increasing, signaling something abnormal in the deeper levels. Yorha uses defensive magic to shield herself, but Alec recognizes he must reclaim his former courage. Trusting one another, they unleash their combined magic. Alec strikes with fire, then thunder, while Yorha enhances defenses. Together, they obliterate the swarm. Suddenly, a giant worm appears, capturing Yorha. Alec counters with elemental magic, while Yorha supports, ultimately destroying the creature. They emerge victorious, reaffirming their strength and trust in one another. Their challenges continue as they face a hydra. The party struggles against its multiple attacks, but Alec harnesses all 5 elements in a devastating combination spell, annihilating the monster. Celebrating their victory, they set a new dungeon record at level 68. Standing together, they reaffirm their resolve to write a legendary story, their bond stronger than ever. To understand Alec's friends better, the story takes us back 4 years earlier, specifically to their graduation day at the academy. While everyone else was celebrating their success calmly, Alec's group was in a dungeon fighting a dragon. Because of their reckless behavior, they didn't have the best reputation among their peers. But that changed when they reached the 68th floor of that dungeon. Everyone came back exhausted but alive, and they even claimed to have defeated a hydra. After that, they finally earned the respect of others. There was at least one person who always believed in them, their teacher, or perhaps the academy's director. She congratulated them warmly on their graduation. The group consisted of Alec, Yorha, a strong and passionate female warrior, Rain Ornest, a calm and confident blonde swordsman, and Anna Rose Crazia, a gentle healer who supported the team from the backline. They were close friends who shared mutual trust, respect, and affection, and they all deeply cared for their teacher Rose. However, as we already know, Alec later parted ways with them to become a court magician. His reason was simple. He wanted a stable salary so his father could finally rest. Alec had been raised by his father alone after his mother's death, and after everything that happened with his mentor, he made his decision. His farewell to his friends was bittersweet. They supported him, but they didn't want to be separated. Before parting, Yorha made a promise that one day they would become the best adventurers in the world and recruit Alec back into their team. Alec accepted with a smile, pretending to stay composed, but the bond they shared was only put on hold, not broken. Back in the present, Yorha is overjoyed that Alec has returned. After sharing a drink, she becomes a little too emotional and drunk since Alec almost got her killed earlier along with that giant worm. She passes out quickly, so Alec covers her with his jacket to keep her warm. A man nearby finds this amusing and mocks Alec, saying that someone like him isn't fit to be an adventurer. Alec ignores him completely, which angers the man, and he almost smashes a bottle over Alec's head. However, before things escalate, the man realizes who Alec is and apologizes, asking why someone of his status would want to become an adventurer. He gives Alec the adventurer pass he came for, but on one condition. He wants to see Alec's full power. Just then, Yorha wakes up and nervously calls the man Guildmaster, realizing he's the head of the Adventurers Guild. Alec nearly made a big mistake, but the Guildmaster decides to proceed. They head underground to the training arena, where new teams are tested to prove their worth. The Guildmaster introduces himself as Leviel Saint Diez, the head of the File Adventurers Guild. He's not only intimidating by title, but also by presence. Even Alec recognizes him as a legendary leader who once commanded an S-rank team. They both prepare for battle, and the duel begins. Alec starts with a powerful lightning spell, but Leviel easily deflects it. The master also uses magic to enhance his body, increasing his speed and strength to overwhelming levels. His blows shatter Alec's barriers. At first, Alec struggles, but he soon remembers that he's no longer limited to support magic. Determined not to hold back, he creates a sword of magic and charges in for close combat. Leviel continues to overpower him, but Alec studies his movements, finds an opening, and strikes with a lightning attack from above, followed by a sword slash. Leviel staggers, but smiles. He's clearly enjoying himself. The Guildmaster then summons his favorite weapon, enchanted gauntlets, and the fight intensifies. Every punch is deadly, and he's already adapted to Alec's lightning attacks. Still, Alec keeps dodging, waiting for the perfect chance to land a decisive blow. Unfortunately, his mana runs out and he collapses. The battle is over. Leviel feels a bit guilty for going so hard on him, but before he can say much, Rin appears and teases the Guildmaster for seriously fighting a kid. Leviel just laughs it off, saying it was fun, and declares that Alec has earned his adventurer's pass. Rain is delighted, though he can't help but laugh at Alec lying on the floor. Later, the group helps Alec rest, and Ray grows curious about what Alec went through during his years as a court magician. Leviel and Rain also discuss how corrupt Galdana's nobles are, looking down on commoners and caring only about bloodlines. They both respect Alec for enduring such treatment for 4 years. George finds Alec's determination admirable, which annoys Rain a bit. Soon after, the guild receptionist, Misha, arrives with urgent news. A high-ranking team is in danger deep inside the dungeon. The guildmaster immediately prepares to form a rescue team. The team in trouble is called Rechroma, currently trapped on the 64th floor, known as the Tank Slayer floor. Meanwhile, Alec is waiting outside, disappointed that only A-rank adventurers were called for the mission. He's approached by Krasia, who greets him kindly and heals his injuries. She doesn't ask about his past right away, just tells him that if he's ever in pain, he can always come to her, since healing magic is her specialty. Alec opens up a little, admitting that while adventurers here are different from the nobles of Galdana, his past experiences still make him hesitant. Krasia assures him, helping him relax and smile again. Just then, Rain arrives with news that they've been personally recruited by the guildmaster to join the rescue mission. They'll head to the Tank Slayer floor immediately. Krasia reluctantly joins, saying she tried to refuse, but the others outvoted her. Despite the bickering, they all prepare for the mission. The team Rakroma is still in grave danger, and Alec learns that the boss they're about to face is one he had previously defeated. The responsibility now falls on him to help lead the rescue. Alec agrees, though he worries he might be rusty. His friends assure him no one is more qualified than him, and they also reveal that they were only approved for this mission because Alec is part of their team. The guildmaster has high expectations for him. Encouraged, everyone is filled with excitement. The group officially registers under the name Lasting Period and sets out towards the dungeon, ready to continue their legend. Alec feels a bit guilty that his friends waited 4 years for him, but Rain reminds him that it was their choice and they have no regrets. Now that they're free and together again, the whole world lies ahead of them, and they're determined to make their names known everywhere. Using the traditional method would take too long, but there's an artifact that can take them straight to the floor where they were found, the same one Krista used to bring them out from the 64th floor. With it, they'll be there in no time. Another group heading down also has one of these artifacts, and as far as they know, the boss of that floor is an undead, something like a zombie but far more muscular. For this reason, their comrade Alec is the ultimate weapon of the group, the last one to act. They need to save his magic because he's the only one who can truly harm the enemy. They may have taken this mission lightly, but they're heading to a level where even an S-rank group nearly died. With that in mind, they move out. The moment they arrive, Rain takes charge of clearing out the trash, monsters far beneath their level. He cuts them down mercilessly with an artifact called Alma Restica, a simple black spear that pierces and slices easily. It's incredibly sharp and almost unbreakable, making it perfect for his hands. While the protagonist and his friends talk about this, he doesn't let anyone else fight. Suddenly, Alec feels something watching them and attacks instantly. Crazia jokingly asks if something poked his backside, but he draws his sword and strikes anyway. And he was right. A monster known as a Reaper emerges. Rain is glad Alec hasn't lost his instincts. He had noticed the creature before, but didn't warn anyone, knowing he couldn't do much against that kind of enemy. Still, he's confident his favorite mage can handle it. Hearing that, Alec smiles. He hasn't felt someone's expectations or trust in years, but that doesn't matter now. With a single strike, he cuts the monster down. However, the protagonist notices that his companions also seemed aware of the Reaper. They just wanted to test him. Something they'll talk about later, but first they have to make it out alive. Meanwhile, Rain is itching to fight. Yoha reminds him this is a rescue mission, but Crazia tells him not to waste time. He's a complete idiot, and they love him for it. This time, everyone joins the fight. Alec's swordsmanship shines, Yoha keeps boosting the team, and Crazia provides range support with her bow. At one point, Alec calls everyone together to finish off the rest with a massive lightning strike. Rain isn't too happy about it. Apparently, Alec is still using the same techniques from his battle against the old man and hasn't shown any new spells. When Rain asks why, Alec brushes it off, saying those spells are simply the fastest to cast. But that excuse doesn't convince Rain, who presses him further, demanding to know what he's hiding. Before Alec can answer, a loud rumble echoes through the area, then another and another. According to Yoha, it's the floor boss. Rain signals to the team, knowing what to do. With her buffs powering him up, Alec charges forward at full speed toward the sound. The protagonist is amazed by Rain's speed, but even more impressed by Yoha. Her support magic has evolved a lot. Her modest smile shows how much his words mean to her. When they finally reach Rain, they find a hilarious scene. A man running for his life, chased by a massive monster. The poor guy screams for Rain to save him before he's eaten alive. The protagonist asks what's going on, and Rain explains that the monster is the floor boss and the man being chased is Loki Silveria, Krista's companion and the one they came to rescue. He's technically the support mage of their group, but also known as the most annoying person in the guild. In fact, many call him the walking piece of crap. Loki shouts at Rain again to save him or he'll come back as a ghost and haunt him. As he says that, he trips, putting himself directly in danger. Alec wants to rush in and save him, but the others stop him. Apparently, this is how Loki fights. As the monster charges forward, it triggers several traps and gets impaled repeatedly. The protagonist is impressed by Loki's cleverness, though the others insist that doesn't make him any less of a piece of crap.
Loki, delighted that his plan worked, laughs loudly, only to anger the monster further. It roars and unleashes a massive energy blast, vaporizing everything in its path. Loki would have been killed if Ren hadn't saved him at the last second. Now he owes them one, especially Alec, who ordered Rain to save him. Standing before the monstrous zombie-like Godzilla, Alec prepares for battle. The beast tries to crush him, but Yoha blocks the attack. Even then, the creature turns and charges toward Rain, desperate to finish off the piece of crap. Alec fires another powerful lightning strike, but it barely scratches the boss. Seeing this, Rain dashes beneath the monster, grabs Loki, and tosses him to Gracia. Yoha orders her to take him away as fast as possible. Loki, of course, refuses to move, but Gracia has no choice. Meanwhile, Rain returns to the fight as Yoha gives orders. Protect Loki, damage the monster, and keep it distracted so Alec can finish it off. She enhances Rain's power with layers of magic, and he charges in without fear. But his recklessness nearly gets him crushed until Yoha shields him again, urging Alec to hurry. Loki realizes that the legendary group Lasting Period has reunited once more. Alec channels multiple spells at once, 3 simultaneously, something only geniuses can do. But according to Crazia, that's still not his limit. Remembering his training, Alec pushes beyond, casting over 20 spells at once. Rain refuses to be outdone. He climbs onto the monster's body, stabbing into it like a thorn to distract it while Alec finishes his incantation. The lightning spell he unleashes this time is 1,000 times stronger. Alec prepares to destroy it completely, but the monster dodges and counterattacks. Crazia's arrows strike from afar, stunning it again. Yoha restrains it with chains, and Rain drives his spear straight into its skull. Now surrounded, Alec forms a 4-point seal, increasing the gravity in the area to hold it in place. Even so, the creature gathers energy for a last blast. In that moment, Alec remembers a spell his master once taught him, an extraordinary magic that only 2 people in the history of the Academy have ever used. The first was its creator, a true genius. The second is Alec himself. He reflects the monster's attack back at it, obliterating it completely. Then, to finish the job, he burns its remains with the 4-point seal. Finally, Rain cuts off its head, proud of his genius friend, and even more proud of himself. Alec teasingly calls him a genius too, and everyone bursts into laughter, thrilled by their victory. Just then, the piece of crap Loki approaches to congratulate them for their splendid teamwork. It was, after all, the legendary group Lasting Period in action. He tells Alec he knows all about him, the famous court mage of Galdana, who once defeated a Hydra, though some doubt the story. Loki assures him he believes it. Alec clarifies that he's no longer the kingdom's court mage. Loki calls that a waste and adds that Galdana's leaders must be idiots to let him go. He also thanks Yoha for saving him and promises to repay the favor someday, though she knows he's just a leech and pushes him aside. Even after doing nothing, Loki asks for more potions, claiming he gave his to another team fighting the other floor boss. This surprises everyone. There's another boss? Loki explains that the one they just defeated was only one of them. His job was simply to distract it so the others could fight the second. Crazia isn't impressed, saying he was born to be bait. Loki agrees, proudly, calling it a talent. Though when he gets too close, Rain splashes potion in his face to shut him up. Despite their bickering, the two seem to get along better than they admit. Loki explains that the second boss is also undead, more like a ghost knight clad in full black armor. It's possible there's nothing inside at all, and the armor itself is the boss. Physical attacks won't work, so everything depends on Alec. Loki then hands him something, a powerful artifact crucial for facing the next floor's boss. It's called Schwart, a dark sword that now belongs to Alec. But everyone finds this suspicious. Loki never gives anything without wanting something in return. Yoha suspects he wants Alec to fight on the front lines, and she's right. Loki even insists that Alec shouldn't use magic at all, an absurd thing that makes no sense to anyone. But that's just who Loki is. He loves to complicate things, to deceive, to scheme, to turn even simple plans into chaos. That's what excites him the most. And so, another eccentric joins their growing list of allies.
Meanwhile, we finally see the Prince group struggling for real. He urges his support mage to counterattack with magic, but she can't. She doesn't understand why.
He tries to rely on his swords, but ends up on the ground. Everyone panics and runs away like always. The prince can't understand why nothing is going right. Recently, he gets tired way too fast, and even his sword feels twice as heavy. Thinking back, all of this started the moment he removed Alec from the team. But instead of accepting the truth, he convinces himself that Alec must have cursed him. Certain that magic is involved, he summons Bogan, a noble whose job resembles that of a shaman. Bogan examines him but finds absolutely nothing wrong. Yet the prince refuses to believe it. His performance has dropped too much, so in his mind, Alec must be behind it. Otherwise, why would he fail such an easy challenge like floor 30? Bogan finds that claim interesting. He asks if the prince knows that floor 30 has an anti-magic field. He then asks how strong Alec's support magic was. But the prince sees that kind of magic is useless, something only weak people rely on. His ignorance raises a red flag for Bogan. He asks if Alec truly never warned him about the anti-magic field. Alec should have known since he once belonged to the legendary group of students who reached floor 68. But the prince laughs at that, calling it a lie commoners make up to feel important. He refuses to let Alec go unpunished and wants him held accountable for everything. Just then, someone arrives to tell him that the king wants to discuss Alec Kygrit. The prince instantly feels relieved, thinking his father is finally taking his side. He walks in, ready to complain, but the king suddenly mentions Eldas Magella. The prince has no idea who that is. The king explains. Eldas was the previous court mage, expelled around a decade ago for having the audacity to tell the king that he must treat court mages better or something terrible would happen to Galdana. The king thought Eldas was a good noble, but still a fool. The prince agrees that exile was the right choice. But it didn't end there. Stripped of land and title, Eldas entered the Magic Academy as a commoner. Every insult thrown at him he countered with overwhelming skill. He even earned a title high enough to become a court mage again, only to repeat the same warning to the king. A year later, he disappeared from court. Eldas tried to show that commoners weren't useless. One had even saved his life. Lately, the king has been thinking about those words. He asks the prince if he knows why he sent him to explore the dungeon in the first place. Before the prince can answer, the king explains. He wanted to see if Eldas's warning was true. The king believes the kingdom must change, starting with discrimination against commoners. He now wants to hire talented individuals, just like Alec. This shocks the prince. He was raised to believe commoners are worthless. Accepting them now would destroy everything he was taught, lessons learned from his own father. The king admits he was wrong. It wasn't his best moment as a parent, but he's the king, and he intends to change things. The prince argues that he has already suffered for being associated with a commoner, so this proves inclusion is a mistake. But officials arrive with the letter Alec tried to give him earlier. It contains all the information needed to clear floor 30, the same floor where the prince was severely injured. Bogan and the king understand the truth. Only someone who has cleared it many times could write this level of detail. Still, the prince refuses to accept reality. He asks his father for time to think and steps out for air. The king asks Bogan to watch over him. Frustrated, the prince tries to process everything. He remembers how Alec once tried to talk to him. Twisting the memory, he convinces himself Alec withheld that information because he thought the prince was useless. His resentment grows. When Bogan arrives, the prince asks him for a favor. Meanwhile, we return to Alec and his team. Loki begins explaining his plan, a plan his friends find absurd, but they let him continue. Alec is perfect for pretending to take on a different role. They want the floor boss to believe Alec is a swordsman. Loki claims the boss is intelligent, not like the mindless zombies they've been fighting, and is an expert swordsman. Alec wants to be sure, but Loki insists. For now, Alec must only use his sword until he gives the signal. Then he will switch to magic to finish the fight. Alec agrees. Next, Loki explains Kracia's part. She hesitates at first, but Loki tells her it's crucial. He plans to use teleportation magic. It requires a huge amount of mana, and he doesn't have enough. Teleportation is a state secret, meaning Loki took it without permission. but as long as no one talks, there's no issue. They don't have many options, so Alec jokes that if anything happens, they'll just blame Loki. Kreisha finally agrees. While she practices the spell, Alec asks Yorha if Loki is trustworthy. Yorha says he's not exactly reliable, but he is someone they can count on. 2 years ago, Loki coordinated an assault on the arcane dungeon perfectly, with no casualties. He's annoying, but brilliant, and his leader is a good man too, so maybe Loki learned some values from him. Alec decides to trust him. More confident now, Alec calls Rain to train with swords. Rain is excited, and Yorha watches with slight annoyance. Loki finds it sweet that their bond is still strong. Kreisha agrees. Friendships like that must also exist in Rechroma. They activate the teleportation spell. It's impressive that it works at all, even if it only takes them directly to the boss room. They need to be ready to fight instantly, and that's exactly what excites them. It reminds them of the old days, preparing to fight dungeon bosses. They teleport in. Everyone except Loki lands on Rain, a comedic moment, but immediately they notice the boss. Its presence is intimidating. They should have retreated earlier, but now it's too late.
Leader, Reweld, sends Krista back for support. As she leaves, their partner Marbell charges at the boss to distract it. Ruel shoots a fireball to assist her, but the boss shrugs off his attacks and continues attacking. As Ruel wonders how to deal with the troublesome set of armor,
suddenly Rain charges straight towards the main enemy. The boss's strength is overwhelming, and Rain barely manages. Alec rushes forward to help, and the two engage in a fierce duel. Kreisha and Loki rush to heal the wounded. After many clashes, Alec notices the armor is empty. Rain charges recklessly to draw the boss in, using his cape to trap it. Alec finishes the attack by removing its helmet. There's no head inside. The armor collapses. It looks like victory. But then the boss rises again, stronger than before. A sinister aura surrounds it. From inside the armor emerges something monstrous. A Dullahan, a headless knight, born from the union of a steed and a man, meaning the armor earlier was its mount. Before Alec reacts, the Dullahan disappears and instantly reappears to strike. It's much faster and stronger than before. Yorha reinforces Rain with all her strength. Rain, furious that Alec got the first strike, charges forward. Alec attacks again, but even with a high-quality weapon, the monster barely takes damage. The Dullahan roars, slamming Alec into a wall. Yorha saves him with magic just in time. Alec thanks her and asks Loki how much longer he needs. Loki says 5 minutes. Alec takes a potion and prepares 2 more. Rain yells at Alec to hurry up, calling him a spoiled court student who complains too much. Alec warns him to stop talking because that was his last potion. Rain actually smiles. Alec is speaking more like he used to. It's been 4 years since they last saw each other. Rain asks him how he ended up like this. Alec tells him to shut up, and Rain snaps back. He's tired of Alec keeping everything inside. They fought side by side for 6 years, always protecting each other, so of course he's worried. Alec finally breaks. He admits that he wanted to change the court for his master's sake, but he failed, ran away, and accomplished nothing. Rain assures him that doing his best is enough. He fought through misery for so long, he did more than anyone could ask. Alec is moved to tears in the middle of the battle. Luckily, Loki finishes his spell in time. He taunts the Dullahan, using its intelligence against it. The monster rushes at him instantly and cuts him down, but it was only an illusion. Loki lured it exactly where he wanted. The real spell activates, restraining the Dullahan's movement. Rain, as reckless as always, charges. Loki prepared for this too. Kreisha teleports Rain behind the Dullahan, landing a direct hit. Marvel, Loki's ally, jumps in next, but the Dullahan counters and charges straight towards Loki. Loki orders everyone back. He teleports behind the monster and uses a blade of light along with Yorha's support enchantments to hold it. Yorha binds it further with magic. Loki may not be strong, but he refuses to lose. He will forge his own fate. The Dullahan knocks him down, but he gives Alec the signal. It's time for the final attack.
Loki notices that he has created even more spell formations than he did against the dragon. Struggling to output so much power, Alec stumbles,
but gets back up on his feet to complete the spell. As Alec's body glows with energy, more formations surround the knight. Finally, Alec releases the powerful combination Thunderbolt, making the monster scream in pain. However, the powerful knight slashes through its seal, wanting to escape. Knowing this is his last chance, Alec struggles to add more power to the spell, but his body gives out. Loki realizes that it is already insane that Alec has already used his ultimate spell twice, so it's completely normal that he can't use its full power. Meanwhile, Alec struggles to keep up his spell, but suddenly, he remembers Regulus's mocking words from when he fired him. Then he remembers the kind welcome afterward by his own team and raises his wand again. Unwilling to let them down here, determined to make his friends proud, Alec steps forward and chants a new spell called Vajra, which combines all his thunder formations and releases a gigantic dragon as the rest of the team watches in shock. Alec prepares to destroy the Dark Knight with his lightning dragon. Soon the monster breaks free from Yorha's seal and charges forward. Alec immediately releases his dragon, which rushes forth and devours the metal beast, shattering its entire body to bits. With the boss defeated, Alec finally collapses on the ground. Exhausted, he feels happy that he can rely on his teammates to cover for him, but Yorha reminds him that they're here just to enjoy themselves. Ornis thinks that the old Alec is finally back at full strength, but Crasha says he can still improve. He chuckles before asking Alec if he won their bet this time. Remembering their bet that whoever fell down first lost, Alec gets mad at Ornis for being so unfair. Knowing that Alec was suffering from a disadvantage, Ornis decides to go easy on him and give him a lighter punishment. He tells Alec to never keep any more secrets from their team, saying that he should always rely on his friends to solve his problems. Seeing his friend's sincere concern, tears run down Alec's face as he jokes about the light punishment. Ornis wonders if Alec wants to truly suffer, so he decides not to push his luck. As Alec feels grateful for such wonderful friends, Rywell and Marbell walk over. Rywell thanks Alec for saving his entire team's life, as he introduces himself as the party leader. Suddenly, Marbell comes out of nowhere and kisses Alec on the cheek while Yora gets jealous. Marbell thanks him for the help and invites him to explore dungeons with her party. Yora reminds her that Alec belongs to her team, while Loki praises his incredible performance. As Loki thanks the team for saving his life, Ornis and Crasha start bullying him to give them something in return. Feeling pressured, he finally agrees, wondering why the two of them partnered together to bully him. Then Loki turns around, thinking that the party wants him to give a letter of recommendation for them. Alec wonders what the letter would do. So, Rywell explains that in order to be promoted to S rank, all the ranked parties need a letter of recommendation and approval from the guildmaster. He reassures Alec that he'll write the letter of recommendation himself, and Ornis thinks it's a good idea to send Rywell instead of Loki. Feeling attacked, Loki asks if everyone hates him so much, and literally every single person nods, laughing at his misery. Once their discussion is done, Alec heads over to where he defeated the knight and picks up its monster core. With the core collected, Rywell's party says goodbye and leaves the dungeon. They praise Lasting Period for their amazing abilities, and they all grin, celebrating a job well done. Afterward, the party returns to the guild, where Alec gets his reward from the guild attendant. She sends him off after praising his performance, and Alec runs into the guildmaster, who tells him he's got a visitor from Galdana. As Alec meets this visitor, he finds out that it's Vogan. Vogan asks him if he wanted the prince to die by hiding his abilities from him. However, Alec reminds him that the spoiled little prince wouldn't listen to him anyway, which silences Vogan. Then Alec asks if the prince has a new court magician. He laughs and explains that the spoiled brat was humbled on the dungeon's 30th floor. Vogan says he was hired to teach the prince and be his bodyguard, but he got tired of his attitude. Realizing that he's the prince's bodyguard, Alec figures that Regulus must also be in the guild. He asks Vogan where the prince is right now, so he explains that he's in the guild's arena. Alec asks him to lead him there since he has some stuff to settle with Regulus. As the two of them walk downstairs to the underground arena, Vogan wonders why the prince is so rigid about his views on nobility. Alec thinks that it's only normal for nobles to act like a bunch of snobs, and Vogan sides. Frustrated, this surprises Alec, who points out that he's a noble himself. However, Vogan says he doesn't care about meaningless statuses and hates the way Regulus thinks. Soon they enter the arena, where Alec finds the prince standing in a cloud of dust. As Regulus turns around, he glares at Alec and reveals what the king told him. Alec is surprised that the strict king actually wants to change his court, but Regulus tells him he'll only accept the change because his father ordered him to. He points an accusing finger at Alec, crying that lowly commoners don't deserve to work with holy nobles like him. Frustrated that he grew up his entire life thinking he was better than everyone else, Regulus starts screaming and grabs Alec's collar. As the prince sheds tears, overwhelmed by emotion, Alec admits that he can't understand his feelings. However, he tells the spoiled brat that it's his fault for never listening to him. Regulus gets angry, but Alec shakes him off, saying that if he had listened to him, he wouldn't have gotten humiliated in the dungeon. Despite being in the wrong, Regulus's ego blinds him and he refuses to listen. He places a hand on his chest, which starts glowing, and summons his weapons to challenge Alec. Regulus tells Vogan that he doesn't think the king is right, and Vogan nods as he listens. The prince tells him to make the king change his decision if he can defeat Alec and prove the superiority of nobles. After his announcement, Regulus charges at Alec, who blocks his attacks. Alec feels surprised that Regulus switched to twin swords, and the prince tells him it's just an ancient artifact. He reminds Alec that he himself told him to stop using a heavier sword. Alec told Regulus to switch to smaller twin swords since they would be easier to wield with his younger body. Even after taking his advice, the prince collapses to the ground as Alec dodges his attack. Watching the prince's sudden passion, Alec asked Vogan if he encouraged him to do this. The bodyguard calmly tells Alec that he wanted Regulus to confirm a commoner's ability with his own eyes since he was too stubborn to acknowledge them. As the prince struggles to get up, Vogan tells him to prove his bluster about nobles with his actions. Angered by his taunt, Regulus tries to attack again, but Alec blocks it once more while the prince desperately slashes at Alec. Vogan reveals that he told the prince he'd earn his respect if he took action even if he couldn't prove himself. Then, Regulus charges a special attack to break through Alec's defenses, but he still deflects the attack. Exhausted, Regulus realizes that Alec is enhancing his own abilities through support magic. He remembers that while exploring the dungeons with Alec, he never used to get tired because his support magic protected him during his reckless actions. In response, Alec says that he was simply doing his duty, but Regulus reveals that when he went to the dungeon after kicking him out, he got his butt kicked every time. Frustrated by his repeated losses, Regulus finally read through Alec's notes. Even though it hurt his very bloated ego, Regulus admits that his notes were perfect and thorough. It left Regulus completely frustrated that Alec could even predict what he'd do in dangerous situations. So he thought that he was a complete genius. Unfortunately, despite recognizing Alec's ability, Regulus says that he wants to take him down. He challenges Alec to take him seriously, so the magician finally summons his sword. This time he gets serious and reminds the prince that he can absolutely crush him. Before making a move, Alec asks the prince if the king truly thinks their kingdom needs to change. The prince reveals that the king is testing the abilities of nobles and commoners, so he made him explore the dungeon for an experiment. Regulus feels humiliated that he was just a testing project for his father, and Alec finally realizes why the king was so nice to him all those years. The prince wonders if he's satisfied, but Alec tells him that previously he used to think he wasted all those years in the palace. However, if the king changed his mind, it means that his efforts and Eld's struggles all those years ago weren't meaningless. As Alec announces his happiness, Regulus is shocked. Then, Alec finally grips his sword, ready to finish the duel. Suddenly, he appears before Regulus in a flash and raises his sword. As the spoiled prince flinches in terror, Alec knocks out his swords in front of Vogan. Once the dust is clear, Regulus is left staring at Alec from the ground. He angrily asks Alec why he didn't hit him, wondering if he spared him out of pity. Regulus tells Alec why he isn't angrier at him, recalling all the times he humiliated him for no reason. As the prince goes on his tangent, Alec stares silently while Regulus breaks into tears. The young prince loses all hope, thinking his previous ideals and dreams have become completely meaningless. The prince wonders what to do next since he doesn't know what's right anymore. He thinks that perhaps if he died, his dad would reconsider his decision in grief. However, with Alec looking at him in pity, Regulus thinks that there is no way out for him. In his desperation, Regulus asks Alec what he should do next, which makes him laugh. Alec apologizes for laughing, but says that he never expected the prince to suddenly ask him for life advice. He explains that at first he also wanted to beat up Regulus and take revenge for all the suffering he put him through. However, with the prince crying and begging him for help, he can't help but laugh at the absurdity. Then, to answer Alec, he says that he doesn't know, since he is always relying on others because of how unpredictable life can be. Alec says that he even struggles to answer what he should do next. However, he tells the prince that he shouldn't ask others for advice and should make his own decisions about what to do. Hearing his advice, Regulus calms down and realizes he should answer his own questions. So he asks Vogan for an item, so he hands over the court magician's robe to the prince. Regulus offers the robe to Alec, saying that he took it away from him unfairly on James. At that moment, Vogan also shows him a letter from the royal palace, and Alec asks if it's a royal order. Vogan says that it's actually a request from the king. So Alec refuses to take the robe. He tells the prince that he doesn't want to leave his friends and won't ever become a court magician again. He tells him to give the king his warmest regards. The prince throws the robe at him, giving up on Alec. Regulus turns around to leave, saying that he's a total loser for refusing the king's kindness. Alec smirks, saying that he's already a useless commoner, so he can't be missing out much. Finally, Regulus says that he hates Alec, and Alec replies that he feels the same way. Hearing him angry, Regulus leaves, this time with a smile on his face. Vogan turns around to follow his young lord, while Alec laughs, finally feeling free of a mental burden. That was episode 5. Subscribe to not miss the next part, and watch the next video.